Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hani Nur'aini, and my friend.
Hervina Rahmawati Fatimah.
We are from Group 10, and we want presentation about common mistake of pronunciation. Common mistake of pronunciation. Speaking is one of the crucial skills that language learning involves, which is necessary for interaction. Oral use of language demands acquiring the whole system of the language. Learning to speak a language involves many aspects. It involves learning how the sound system is organized, how units of meaning are organized in words, the principle by which these words are put together to form sentence, and principles by which interaction with other speakers is regulated. Speaking usually occurs in a spontaneous conditions with little time for thinking and correction. Jorda argues that the speaking skill is important to our language, learning that when we revert to speaking pronunciation errors. And the next is the relationship between speaking and pronunciation. The relationship between speaking and pronunciation is undeniable. One cannot speak without pronouncing the language. One of the essential language learning skills is pronunciation because it makes communication possible. During and Roster 2002 state that the majority of English second language learners find difficulties learning how to pronounce. Generally, learners consider pronunciation as the main cause for their communication problems. So pronunciation is an important element in achieving success in any oral discourse. Much attention is to be paid to pronunciation, as it contributes to conveying the right message in oral discourse. If the message is not properly articulated, pronunciation might sometimes hinder communication or lead to fatal misunderstanding. It is believed that pronunciation is crucially important as it is usually the first thing people notice about any language speaker or learner. The different pronunciation or different sounds will cause different meanings. In learning English, non-native speakers tend to make errors. The third semester students of English Education Department have learned the subject of pronunciation 1 and pronunciation 2 in the first and second semester. At the end of learning both subjects, the students are expected to be able to pronounce words, phrases, and sentences, including the stress, and the intonation correctly. However, there are still a lot of mispronouncing words made by the students. The next is about the consonant system. Consonant sound is as the solid blocks with which we construct words, phrases, and sentences. These blocks are connected or held together by a more malleable or fluid material, the vowels of the language. Together, they provide the basic building materials needed to create the architecture of language. The full inventory of native American English consonant phonemes is sound example sounds. For example, the first is b, and the example is boy and cab. The number 2 is p, and the example word is pie and lip. Number 3 mm, is the, and the example word is dog and bat. Number 4 is t, and the example word is two and cat. Number 5 is g, and the example word is go and bag. Number 6 is k, and the example word is cat and bag. Number 7 is v, and the example word is view and love. Number 8 is of, and the example word is feel and life. Number 9 is us, and the example word is the and but. Number 10 is uts, and the sample word is tint and bats. Number 11 is the, and the example word is zoo and gas. Number 12 is us, and the example word is sea and bus. Number 13 is zoo, and the example word is leisure and beige. Number 14 is sh, and the example word is shy and dish. Number 15 is her, and example word is his and ahead. Number 16 is she, and the example word is cheek and watch. Number 17 is je, and the example word is joy and budge. Number 18 is and the example word is me and sim. Number 19 is an, and the example word is na and sun. Number 12 is and the example word is sing and singer. Number 21 is all, and the example word is long and full. Number 22 is and the example word is run and car. Number 23 is wa, and the example word is win and way. Number 24 is which, and the example word is which and what. Number 35 is ye, and the example word is you and soya. The 25 distinct consonant phonemes of Native American English can be distinguished along three dimensions. The first is poising, whether the vocal cords are vibrating. The second is place of articulation, where the sound is made. And the last is a manner of articulation, how the airflow is affected. The next is about voicing. Although English consonants are classified as phonemically voiced and voiceless, it was usually found that the so-called voiced obstruents, the stop, fricative, and affricates are partially voiceless when they occur at the beginning or end of a word. The next is place of articulation. The place of articulation is the description of where the obstruction occurs in the vocal tract. To describe a place of articulation of a consonant, the lower articulator articulates with which of the upper articulators must be stayed. For example, for a the tip of the tongue is against the alveolar ridge, but for a g, the back of the tongue is against the velum. The first is about bilabial. The bilabial sounds of English include b, and as in the initial sounds of the words p, b, me. The lower lip articulates against the upper lip. The sounds p, b, me are made by completely closing the lips. The sounds p is voiceless, b, are voiced. The sound w, as in we, simultaneously involves both labial and velar articulation, as shown in the example below. P, the example is B, creepy loop, and B, for example, B, lobby and rub, and for the example, mo, summer, and long. This part of plus articulation is labiodental. There are two labiodental sounds in English, is of and fu, as in the initial sounds of the words feel and will and will. When these sounds are pronounced, the lower lip will articulate against the upper teeth. Is voiceless and v is voiced. The term labial is used to indicate both bilabial and labiodental sounds as shown in the example below of fun, davy, and love, and will, movie, and glove. And the next is dental. Two dental sounds occur in English, but are normally written with the letter ch. For example, the words tin and dun. The vocal folds will vibrate for then, but not for tin. The initial sounds of tin is is voiceless, but the corresponding one of tin is voiced. The sounds and and us are apical. That is, the tip of the tongue is near or just barely touching the rare surface of the teeth. Air passes out with a soft hissing noise. Here below are the example. Um, It's called Tira, Thin either holds and is called it, then either and loads and loads. The next is alveolar. The alveolar includes more consonants in English than any other place of articulation. S, D, Z, Z, and O. As in the following examples, S for the example top, return, and miss. D for the example done, sudden, love. S for the example see, messy, police. Z for example zap, Lucy, please. And for example dengan, no, any, and done. And all for the example love, relief, and dull. Next is postal alveolar. Postal alveolar refers to the area at the rear of the alveolar ridge, bordering on the palate. The tongue is arched with the blade near the postal alveolar area. English has four sounds in this area. Sh is the initial sounds in the word shoe. It is usually spelled sh. The voice variety of this sound is found in the voice variety of in the middle of the words measure. It is symbolized as you. Two other sounds are postal velar. The initial sounds in the word shop, transcript ch, and the initial sounds jump, transcript j. There are called affricates and are described in more detail below. Called ush, for example, shelf, assure, and mesh. Is called us, for example, treasure, vision, and rose, and ch, for example, chin, a ching, and roach, and je, for example, jam, a g, and ridge. The next is retroflex. The initial sound in red is called retroflex. This name is used because many people produce it by curling the tip of the tongue up and back towards the rear edge of the alveolar ridge. In making this sound, the tip of the tongue does not actually touch the back of the alveolar ridge, but approaches it. For example, or for example, and the example word is run and airy. And the next is palatal. Palatal are made with the front of the tongue articulating against the palate. The only palatal in English is the sound y. The initial sound in yes. In yes, it is often of written W, but it is also found in words such as a nudge, use, view, and to avoid any confusion between the sound y and the letter G. The phonetic symbol J is called by the name yod. J called yod, yell, onion. For the sample word, yell, onion, use. Next is about velar. Velar sounds are dorsovelar, with the back of the tongue articulating against in the velium. In English, the velars are k, g, and ng. These are the final consonant in the words sick, egg, and sing. K, for example, word kiss, lacquer, and sog. G, for the example, gun, rugger, and sog. And for the example, singer and band. The next is glottal. The glottal stop is made in the larynx by holding the vocal cords tightly together so that no air escapes. Many English speakers use a glottal stop in saying or a. And the next is labial velar. The sound w has a double place of articulation, labial velar, being both labial and velar, as in w or and for the example word is but and anyway. The next is manner of articulations. Manner of articulation is another distinguished feature of how consonants are produced. If the place of articulation in which speech organs are in which positions in order for a particular consonant sound to be produced, manner of articulation is how does various speech organs interact with each other, providing a further dimension to how consonants are articulated. As mentioned, sounds are produced by air moving from the lungs through the articulatory organs and being released through the oral and or nasal passage. Various vowel sounds are articulated with a free airflow. Consonant sounds involve some narrowing of the articulatory passageway or some obstruction or of the airflow. In the production of consonant sounds, the air is moving through an obstacle course created by different configuration of the speech organs as the air encounters these obstacles. Different kinds of sound are produced. The type of obstacle course the air takes referred to as the manner of articulation. And the next will be explained by Hervina.
For manner of articulation, A. First is stop, when the airstream is blocked or stopped completely before its release. The resulting explosion of sound is referred to as a stop or plosive. A stop involves a complete closure such that no air passes out of the mouth. Stop or plosive consonants are made by the stoppage of the air passage at some at some point. The air compressed behind the stop rushes out with a slight explosion when the stop is released. Thus, a plosive consists of a stop, b, a release, and c, some sound which allows the release. In English, p, t, k, b, d, g are stops. In making each of these, a complete closure is made. At the lips, the alveolar ridge or the velum such that no air can escape through the mouth. In forming p and b, the stop is made by the two lips. In t and d, by the tip of the tongue against the teeth ridge. In k and g, by the back of the tongue against the teeth reach in k and g by the back of the tongue against the soft palate. For example, the consonants p and b, as in pie and by, are formed when the air stream is stopped by the two lips, causing pressure to build slightly before being released through the mouth. Next. For the second one is fricative. Fricatives are sounds made with small opening, allowing the air to escape with some friction. The escaping air is turbulent and produces a noisy friction-like sound called frication. Consonants classified as fricatives are v, the, s, z, sh, z, h, as in fit, fine, thing, those, seal, zeal, shell, pleasure, and hit, respectively. In all these instances, the air is restricted by the narrow passage formed by the following articulators: the lower lip and upper teeth for v and v, the tongue and the teeth for the and the tongue and the alveolar ridge for z and z, the tongue and the hard palate for ch and z, and the narrow opening of the vocal cords for h. Here, the lower articulator is close to the upper articulator, but not so close that air cannot escape, creating frication. The essential components for a fricative are obstruct airflow with frication. And the third is approximants. Approximants are consonants with a greater opening in the vocal tract than fricatives. Frication is absent with approximants if the airstream moves around the tongue and out the mouth in relatively unobstructed manner. The sound is called as an approximant. In English, this category comprises uh, l, I, W, and U. These are the initial sounds in lute, ru, would, and use. Within the class of approximants, liquids L and R are distinguished from glides or semi-vowels like y and w. Uh, and fourth is affricates. An affricate is a plosive consonant in which the articulating organs are separated less quickly than in the case of normal plosives, with the result that the corresponding fricative is heard momentarily as the organs separate. Affricates are sequences of stop plus fricative. The English sounds ch and j are postal volar affricates. These are the sounds in coach and judge both at the beginning and the end of these words. In the initial part of ch and j, the tip of the tongue is at the rear of the alveolar ridge, somehow back of its position in words like this. In the second part of the affricate, the tongue pulls away slightly from the roof of the mouth to form a fricative. The affricate ch is regularly spelled ch or ch, ch, as in words like church, child, and hitch. J is usually spelled j, g, or j, as in joke, jam, and church. And the fifth is nasals. The sound m, n, and as in moon, neither long are called nasals or nasal stops. For these three sounds, there is a vellus opening, allowing air to pass out through the nose. Usually, the term nasal is sufficient. But to be more explicit, and are called nasal stops, and p, t, k, b, d, g are called oral stops. Air escapes through the nose but not through the mouth. For oral stops, on the other hand, no air escapes through the nose or through the mouth. Of the nasal consonant, is the one most likely to pose a challenge to learners. The other two nasals, m and n, occur in most languages. The velar nasal does not occur in initial position in English. It occurs only intervocalically, as in singing or stranger, or in final position either alone as in king or chasing, or in final clusters as in hangs or long. In words such as thinker, answer, or sings, the letter n is actually articulated as since it occurs together with the velar consonant k. And the last is other terms. The term utterance includes oral stop fricatives and affricates. Non-utterants are called sonorants. They include nasal stops, approximant, glades, and vowels. Utterants involve an obstruction in the vocal tract sufficient to cause frication. With sonorants, the vocal tract is more open with a free airflow. The sounds s, s, and z are often referred to as sibilants. Sibilants may include sh and z as well. Liquids comprise laterals and are-like sounds in English. These are this grouping is useful because of the acoustic similarity of the sounds and in the production of any given consonant. Both the place and manner of articulation and phrasing, along with the other secondary characteristics, figure prominently in determining what sound is produced. Only by combining all of the relevant articulatory features can we articulately describe English consonant sounds. The vowel system. Vowels are the core of or peak of the syllable. A syllable can consist minimally of the vowel v only. As in the word a, v. Alternatively, the vowel is in a given syllable can also be surrounded on either or both sides by consonant c, as in the words pray, and VZZ, FVCC, and prank CC, Another way to of describing vowel is to define them as sound in which there is continual vibration of the vocal cords and the airstream is allowed to escape from the mouth in an unobstructed manner without any interruption. It makes vowels are different from consonants since in consonant vocal cord vibration can be interrupted and there is called obstruction of the airflow when the various articulators approach each other. Also, consonant cannot visually consider the peak of the syllable. The The classification of Native American English vowel system consists of 14 stress positions. 11 of the 14 stress vowels are either simple vowels, that is, vowels without an accompanying glide movement, as in bed, uh, uh, or put, or vowels with an adjacent glide. Vowels accompanied by y or w, as in pain, a, or stun, o. The remaining three vowels are diphthongs. The 11 simple vowels and vowels with adjacent glide are as follows. First is E. Example is hit and D. E. Example is fit, thin. A. Rain, May. A. Get, hand. A. Cat, pen. A. Mahot. 7 is a. For example is cat and sun. And 8 is O. The example is south and low. O. The example is self, both. And the 10 is U. The example is look and wool. And the last is U. The example is blue and room. 4 of the 11 vowels consist of two symbols. The symbols indicate that the vowel sounds in words like green and rain begin with E and A, respectively, and then glide toward E. Similarly, the vowel sounds in words like bowl and blue begin with O and U, and glide toward U. The three phonemic vowels, diphthongs, all of which involve even greater movement from a vowel sound, produce lower in the mouth to a glide produced higher in the mouth are A. Low central to high front pie fine. 13 is all low central to high back blows and hoe. And 14 is low back to high front boy and chase. In vowels, there are short vowels and long vowels. The short vowels are regularly represented by VC or vowel consonant. For example, back, tat, tip, notes, as, back, tat, tip, not, as. To represent the short vowel sound when a suffix begin with a vowel. For example, ing or s is added double the final consonant letter if the word ends in one consonant. For example, pat, patting, pat, patting, tip, tipping, not, noted. Diphthong. A long vowel is also known as complex vowel or diphthong. In other words, diphthongs are long vowels in which there is a noticeable movement of the tongue. It is customary to consider a diphthong as a combination of two vowel sounds, so pronounced as to form one syllable. In reality, it is a gliding sound. The tongue starts in one vowel position by the most direct route. A diphthong is made by one impulse of the breath. For example, there is no diminuendo crescendo of breath first. English diphthongs, like those of most languages, are of the following type. They have their greater prominence at the beginning. They are crescendo diphthongs. English diphthongs are usually written phonetically with two letters, the first representing the starting point of the tongue and the second the direction in which it moves. In the diphthong I, for example, the tongue starts at the position of A and moves towards but does not actually reach the E position. Diphthongs can be made by beginning at any one vowel and going in one direction of any other, so that the number of possible diphthongs is very large. The vowel and monophthong. A monophthong is a single vowel sound. The word monophthongs comes from the Greek mono, which means one, and phthong, which means tone or sound. So, monophthong means one sound or single sound. Monophthongs are sometimes called pure vowels. Here is a list of English monophthongs. There are uh, 12 monophthongs in English. First is E, for example, is lip, and second is E, for example, as in sheep, and U as in cook, U as in full, E as in ten. Next, E as in girl, O, uh, O as in among, O as in court, O as in bard, O as in folk, A as in nut, E as in main. How speech sounds are. The vocal cords, the soft palate, the tongue, and the lips are movable. The other organs of speech are fixed. The movable organs of speech can act independently of each other, and their movements can be combined in different ways. Consequently, it is possible to make a very large number of different speech sounds. The breath in passing from the lungs to the outer air is modified on its way by one or more of the movable organs of speech, and this gives rise to the various sounds of speech. The vocal cords, or vocal lips as they may be called, for they resemble lips rather than cords, are stretched across the larynx from front to back. These cords can take up several positions and in this way affect speech sounds. It has been observed that the action of the movable organs of speech are independent of each other, and their movement can be combined in a large number of ways and thus give rise to a large variety of speech sounds. The commonest combination is that of the action of the vocal cords with movements of the tongue, soft palate, and lips. When the lips, tongue, and soft palate are in certain positions, articulating certain sounds, the vocal cords can be open or in vibration. Thus, the speaker speaks of voiced and voiceless sounds. Voiced sounds are those which are accompanied by the vibration of the vocal cords, while all the sounds in which the vocal cords are apart are said to be voiceless. All vowels are voiced sounds. Every consonant can be made with or without voice. Uh, example, F is voiceless, V is voiced. Both are articulated in the same way. The difference made with or without voice, eh, difference between them being due to the action of the vocal cords. Sh and z, th and the are other pairs of consonants articulated in the same way. For the first of each pair, the vocal cords are open, allowing a free passage of the air, and for the second, they are close together and open and close rhythmically and very rapidly. The sound system of English consists of consonant, vowels, and diphthongs. The error that the students made in consonant, the sound of the word b, e, u, and the was because of their lack of understanding in the way how to write the correct phonetic transcription and lack of drill to pronounce the words correctly. The most error in pronouncing the vowel was in the ow sound of the word blows, and anyhow the students pronounced the words into blows and blows. This happened because they were accustomed to hear the word pronounced in such a way. The last sound system is diphthongs. The most error in pronouncing the diphthongs was in the I sound, the word high. The students pronounce this word by saying hike. This is totally wrong since there was no K sound in pronouncing the word. In fact, though the students could not write down the phonetic transcription correctly, they were still able to pronounce the word correctly as long as those words were familiar with them. In, in this case, the students need to be open-minded to learn lots of things, not only from the class, but in outside the class. That's it from our group. Thank Thanks for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.